be happy to take a few questions.
Dr. Postel, how did you weigh the likelihood that you're going to get embroiled in a lawsuit with Rick Pitino this decision?
Well, the board, as you know, had a very long meeting today, and the reason for that is we wanted to make sure that Coach Pitino's team had a chance to present materials to us. We did not know ahead of time what exactly they were going to be presenting, so they gave a presentation and they presented us with some written materials, which we saw for the first time. And so one of the reasons the meeting was so long is we wanted to have a chance to sit down and thoughtfully go through the materials even after the team left, so that we could understand the content of what it was they wanted us to understand. So that's the reason the meeting was as long as it was, and obviously we were very thoughtful in our discussion about it.
Despite seeing all of that evidence that they presented, was there something convincing that said, we just don't believe this, or we're just going to make the decision to terminate Pitino?
No, we as I said, we listened carefully to what they said. We read carefully everything they gave us in the booklet of materials, and at the end of the conversation, we felt that our initial decision to begin the process of termination for cause was still in the best interest of the university, and that's why the resolution was put forward and passed.
What are the main points for you about why you chose to do this now? If there, at the end of the day, the reasons that you plan to do?
Well, there isn't just a single reason, as was outlined in the letter that initially was sent to Coach Pitino. There were a number of issues that over time were brought to our attention, and we simply felt that this was in the best interest of the university to make the decision at this point in time. We try to do that with all decisions. You know, we weigh a lot of factors, and these aren't easy conversations, but we have to do what's best for the university.
Will there be a payoff?
A payoff?
Will you pay him any money as part of this deal?
We have not gotten to that conversation.
President Postel, how do you reconcile your statement that he couldn't have known about the Katina Powell episode with this decision, and how you used it in your justification for firing?
The statement from July you're referring to? Well, so when I started this job in January, February, I began immediately trying to understand and assimilate issues related to the NCAA issues around Minority Hall. And you know, I'm the kind of person I like to give everybody the benefit of the doubt, and so I was trying to again put forward the best case for the University of Louisville and try to understand everyone's position in the matter. And I think as more issues now have been brought to our attention around recruiting issues related to men's basketball, you know, the situation changes. Again, we don't make decisions just based on one instance, but when there's more than one instance, you know, it's important to look at the context of the whole discussion.
Does anything that has happened make you less willing to believe that he was unaware of the Katina Powell allegations?
Well, I wasn't there, so I don't have the ability to say with certainty.
Are you concerned that he will sue for breach of contract?
Well, it's always a possibility. Universities have a lot of lawsuits related to personnel matters. That's not an uncommon thing for universities to encounter. So, of course, that's a possibility, and we deal with all those matters, you know, in a very standard way with attorneys who are expert in dealing with personnel matters.
Was that a concern for you guys in doing this now versus doing it a week from now or a month from now?
That was not the driving factor, no.
What is Kenny Johnson's status right now?
He's still on leave at this point.
Did you discuss him at all in that meeting?
No, this was not a meeting about him.
When's the earliest you could, the board could discuss his status as it pertains to further action?
Well, his contract runs through June, and so we're really just waiting for more information about the investigation to become apparent, so that, again, we make sure that we would make a decision that's in the best interest of the university.
Dr. Postel, did Mr. Pence present anything to give you pause or cause you to doubt your decision?
No, and that's why the vote today was unanimous. We just needed some time to digest it and read through the materials and make sure we understood all that he had presented.
Have you guys launched your own investigation?
Well, we've talked to some individuals, and we're having to be very careful about that because our primary goal is to cooperate with the Federal Bureau of Investigation, and so there are certain individuals that we are not to have conversations with, so we've been very, very careful to avoid that. But outside of that list, certainly we have talked to some of our own employees to try to gain as much understanding of the situation as we can.
Who are
About
those
the
individuals?
NCAA.
We've had no conversation with the NCAA about this particular issue.
The message you're trying to send to Planet Red, to U of L fans, what would you say to them tonight after this decision?
Well, I think what we want the fans to know is that we have a fantastic basketball team. They're supposed to be in the top 5 this year. We certainly hope that's true. We've got a great coach. The team members are enthusiastic. They're going to practices. They're working hard, and they're looking forward to the season and to entertaining the fans. And at the end of the day, that's what this is really all about. It's about the student athletes. It's about putting quality entertainment and quality sports forward for the fans, and trying to get this university in a stable, good spot.
Rick Pitino's legacy here, what would you say about his legacy, what he did for this university for the last 15, 16 years?
He won all sorts of games and titles, and created a powerful program for many years at U of L.
Jumping on that, Dr. Postel, how did you weigh the good Rick Pitino has done in the past 17 years versus what's happened here recently?
Well, one of the hard things about decisions is that they always have to be about what's best for the university going forward. And so it's not necessary to say anything negative about victories in the past or titles in the past. Those are real things, and the university should be proud of those. But they really don't have anything to do with the current decision. We're trying to look at the facts as they exist today and understand what's in the university's best interest tomorrow. And so that's really the basis for all decisions of this type.
Can we read anything into today's decision that might have some bearing on the looming decision regarding athletic director Jurich?
No, that's a separate conversation. He has a different employer, a different kind of employment agreement, and so that wasn't discussed today because that's not a EULA issue.
Does the university
Dr.
have any
Postel, do you-
insurance in the event that you are sued by Rick Pitino?
Well, the
That would
university
apply to that.
has all types of
Right.
insurance, yes,
Right.
for
In
different
terms of-
situations. Depends on the circumstances and the type of action and so forth. It's a tough question to answer off the cuff.
Do you expect to be negotiating some type of settlement with him? And your action today, you fired him for cause, so I suppose you're maintaining that you don't owe him anything, but is that sort of the next up process, or hard to say? Or?
This does not preclude the possibility for such a conversation. Sometimes that's the way these matters turn out. I really can't predict that. We haven't set forward plans to do so, but that wouldn't be the first time that something like that has happened in employment matters.
Is there a formal process you have to go through to notify him that he's been terminated, or is this it?
No, we'll send him a formal letter. I think there has to be a registered letter sent to him and to his attorneys.
Dr. Postel, you mentioned talking and starting your own investigation. Is Chuck Smart doing that investigation?
Yes, he is, part of it. Chuck was here last week for a couple of days and was starting to help us with the process of interviewing some parties. He's very knowledgeable about all the, make sure that we are complete in the types of questions we ask and that sort of thing.
Was there any kind of discussion among members based on the case that was presented by Mr. Pence about maybe delaying the vote, or that was compelling maybe in terms of just really discussing this further?
Well, the board at the end of the day did not see a reason to delay the vote because, again, we feel strongly that the matters we set forth in the letter are still the case. And again, we wanted to be thoughtful and think about the materials that we received today, but waiting a week or two really isn't going to change anything. This is still how the board feels.
Where was Vince Tyrant? Did he leave the meeting?
He was here until he had to catch a plane for the ACC meeting in Florida, I believe.
Okay. Do you know about when that was?
I don't remember exactly what time he left.
Who are the individuals you had to avoid speaking to? You mentioned as part of the internal investigation, there were people you need to avoid speaking to.
Well, we're not to speak to individuals who are actually being interviewed as part of the FBI's investigation.
Who are those people?
I can't give you a list of all those people. Again, that's an FBI issue.
Did Vince have any say in the conversation in there at all?
No, because we hadn't completed our discussion and had a chance to read through everything, so he didn't want to weigh in prematurely until we had a chance to digest everything that Mr. Pence and the other attorneys had given us.
Would it have changed your opinion if Rick Pitino himself had showed up?
I don't know what he would have said that would have been any different. I presume that he instructed his attorneys to represent his opinions. So I think the answer is no.
What's the next big step for you guys? Will it be Tom George on Wednesday?
There will certainly be a conversation about Tom at the Board of Trustees on Wednesday. I can't really predict the details of that, but I know there will be a detailed conversation there.
Gentlemen,
We gotta go.
Yeah.
Thank you all.
Thank you all very